You hitched your wagon to a Palantir star. Is it going to the moon, or did you just get taken for a ride? Welcome to MGA Investing. My name is Dee. This video is part 3 of a 4-part comprehensive stock analysis of Palantir using the dumb method, a method of stock analysis designed to help you better determine the quality of the company that you want to invest in. The first video in the series covered the D and the dumb method, which discussed whether Palantir has a durable competitive advantage and why that might be important to the success of your stock portfolio. The second video detailed the U and the dumb method, which represents understanding how the company makes money and the significance of its importance for the investor. You can find both videos in the links below in the description. You know, in any sane course of business, you would not willingly purchase a local business without knowing about the owners, their structure, profitability, and how they operate. I treat buying a stock no different than I would buying any actual company outright. M or M1 in the dumb method, as previously said, represents management and focuses on measuring how effective management is and its ability to materialize the vision of the company into a reality. I use 6 key metrics to measure management effectiveness. They are ROE, ROA, ROI, debt management, management compensation, and a look at free cash flow. With ROE, ROA, ROI, and debt, I like to compare these numbers to its industry average to provide more context to these numbers. And when looking at growth companies, particularly within the tech sector, these numbers, well, they tend to be negative in the early years of the company. We'll still look over them from quarter to quarter to see what the overall trend is and use these numbers to help us better gauge if management is leading the company in the right direction. The first number to look at is ROE, or return on equity. This is about how much profit a company can make relative to shareholders' equity. Essentially, shareholders gave you money, so how much return can we get for that money? Palantir's ROE is negative 18.17% versus the industry average of 12.48%. I'm not sure you should be alarmed with this. I explained this in a large degree in part 1 of this 4-part Palantir stock analysis as to why this is the case. ROA, or return on assets, which is how much profit a company can generate from its assets. Assets, of course, are things of value a company owns that can be converted into cash. Palantir's ROA is negative 12.67% versus an industry average of 10.63%. ROI, or return on investment, measures the amount of return on an investment relative to the investment cost, essentially a return on cost. One of the challenges with giving too much weight to ROI is that it's pretty much an isolated measure and doesn't account for how long an investment is actually held. Palantir has an ROI of negative 16.27% versus an industry average of 14.75%. Moving on to debt, debt to equity is 11.71% versus an industry average of negative 39.89%. Palantir completed a $400 million debt repayment within the 9-month period ending September 30th, 2021. So as of September 30th, 2021, Palantir had no outstanding debt. Another area of focus for me is management compensation, which is critical to determining if you're looking at a good company run by competent, properly incentivized leadership, or is it just a money grab for executives and board members? The fact is, compensation provides incentive, and incentives drive behavior, good or bad. So let's look at management compensation for Palantir. Here are all the key executives at Palantir. You have Alexander Karp, co-founder, chief executive officer, and director. Stephen Cohen, also a co-founder. You also have Stephen Cohen, co-founder, president, and secretary and director. You have Shyam Sankar, chief operations officer and executive vice president. You also have David Glazer, who is the CFO and treasurer, and you have Ryan Taylor, chief legal and business affairs officer. As we look at Alexander Karp's 2020 salary, we see a base salary of $1.1 million, which includes his $177,000 bi-monthly installment, his $124,000 quarterly installments as an additional stipend, and another $800,000 paid in quarterly installments just for a travel stipend. Man, that's a nice travel stipend, even compared to larger companies. But wait, there's more. He also gets bonuses, which are paid out in RSUs. These are just restricted stock units. This is just another way for the company to grant Karp more shares. These sometimes come with some limitations in terms of transferability or sales. For the year ending 2020, he received 1,213 RSUs at a date fair value of $23.15 per share. That amounted to $28,000. With stock awards, he received a stock awards worth $296 million. He was also awarded nearly $790 million in options. Then there's all other companies compensation worth some $3.1 million for a total 2020 compensation of $1.9 billion. And that's for a company that hasn't shown a profit yet. Go try negotiating that package at your work. What else is included in this little all-purpose compensation bag? Well, there's $94,000 for reimbursement for legal fees incurred related to governance matters in connection with Palantir's direct listing, approximately $1 million in costs related to personal security services provided pursuant an overall security program based on some independent security study that they did. Then there's a $914,000 related to personal use of a chartered aircraft, because as was pointed out in this particular independent study, he needed this private aircraft. So that should work well for personal and business when combined with that $800,000 quarterly installments he receives for travel. Oh yeah, he got another $32,000 for other personal travel costs on top of everything else. Hey, great to be king. Let me provide some additional context to Alexander Karp's compensation plan. Look, I'm not begrudging the guy for getting his, right? But Palantir has a $25 billion market cap and not yet profitable, and his compensation package was $1.1 billion. So let me add a little bit of context. Apple, a $2.78 trillion market cap, its CEO Tim Cook had a $98 million total compensation package for 2021. By the way, Tim's security expenses are only $630,000 a year, and for his personal use of a private aircraft is just a measly $712,000 annually. How's the guy actually living on so little? As you can see, the rest of the guys are paid well also. I honestly don't know how Stephen Cohen is making it on only $192 million, but you have to love that $2.1 million base salary. As I said before, compensation is critical to understanding a company that you want to buy because, as I mentioned already, compensation provides incentives, and incentives drive executive behavior. All too often, the wrong compensation plan can create behaviors more aligned to personal gain instead of employee benefits or sustained increase in shareholder value. So is Palantir a few wealthy guys just getting wealthier? I don't know, you tell me. What are your thoughts? I always find it interesting that people come down on pro athletes that sign these multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts. They say it makes them not work as hard since they're already making so much money. Yet, no one questions corporate executives with much larger compensation packages. For some reason, no one is worried about CEOs getting a little lazy sitting on these mega compensation packages with double reinforced golden parachutes. This is a really rich compensation plan for these executives. It's so rich that I wonder if the company could have reached profitability sooner. Whatever happened to the dream, struggle, and the prize in business? I guess once you go public, that's all out the window. What are your thoughts about the compensation plan? Is it a little too sweet, or do you see it as par for the course? I usually work through more of the compensation, but this one was so rich. I think I'll let you folks dig in more if you'd like more detail. You can find it all in the Palantir Schedule 14A for 2021. I didn't even get into the nearly $11 million involuntary termination agreement just for 30 months of continued security for Alexander Karp if he was let go. Let's move on to free cash flow, which can be difficult to make sense of with many growth companies. Free cash flow is the cash left over after the company pays its operating expenses and capital expenditures. This is a better measurement for more proven profitable businesses, but I like to look at it anyway. Growth companies come with a lot of risk because in a world of unknowns, there's so much more unknown about companies within a growth industry. Palantir's free cash flow for trailing 12 months is just over $210 million versus an industry average of $30 billion. They certainly have a way to go, but it's evident from reviewing executive compensation they could potentially be there now. Other than that, the business appears to be moving in the right direction. Having looked at ROE, ROA, ROI, debt, management compensation, and free cash flow, the Palantir story from a management perspective looks moderately good for where it is. It's really hard for me to qualify this as a well-run company, though, with those comp plans. I would give Palantir management a score of 4.5 out of 10. I don't know, what are your thoughts on management's effectiveness? Do you think they're doing a great job running the company? What do you think I missed in this part of my analysis when grading management effectiveness? Please leave your comments below. Remember, the objective of M1 is measuring management's effectiveness and their ability to materialize the dream of the company's vision into a reality, and it appears the company is at least headed in the right direction. I recommend, if you haven't seen the Durable Competitive Advantage video and Understand video, to go back and watch those videos so you have a better sense of how this dumb method stock analysis comes together as a total stock analysis scoring system. There's still one more video to complete the final analysis and prepare us to make a more informed decision about possibly buying Palantir, so I'll reserve a final judgment until part 4 of this 4-part Palantir stock analysis. Having a way to measure management effectiveness speaks directly to the importance of having a solid, consistent stock analysis process that leads to sound stock selection for your portfolio. I look forward to engaging you in the comments below, where I'll be live for the first hour after the release of this video, because I want to know what your thoughts are. If you found value in this video, click that thumbs up and subscribe so you can be the first to be notified of the release of part 4 of this 4-part Palantir comprehensive stock analysis on YouTube, where I'll explore the second M, or M2 of the dumb method, which represents margin of safety. This is about determining the optimum time to purchase the stock. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the final video of this series.